everyone, welcome to the main event. My name is Joe Tillman, and it is Monday, May 15th, 2023. How is everyone? How is everyone doing? How are you? How was your weekend? Mine was pretty damn spectacular. Fantastic weather here in Vancouver, British Columbia. Really warm temperatures, not a cloud in the sky, and loved every second of it. If you don't know who I am, what I'm doing behind this microphone, my name is Joe Tillman, and I am a 20-year hair transplant industry veteran working with some of the best hair transplant clinics in the world, learning so much over these years because I am fascinated by hair transplant surgery, every little nuance about how it's done. And what's really a blessing for me over especially the past, I'd say, since 2015, 8 years, when I've been traveling to clinics to review them for the Hair Transplant Mentor website, where I add them to my website if they have passed my standards, is I get to learn how they do things above and beyond what they share online, if they share online. So a lot of clinics don't talk about this, but that's one of the blessings of what I do. I get to take my experience and apply it to advising these clinics behind the scenes, but I also get to see how they do things. And I feel like my exposure on this level has given me a much more comprehensive view of hair transplant surgery in general. And I've really enjoyed it. So a little bit of a rant there, but that's what I bring to the table. And you're on my YouTube channel or on my website, hairtransplantmentor.com. I'm not doing this with the slant of how people pay me, because I work with so many different clinics now, and I've tried to maintain a position of objectivity when it comes to the clinics I work with. And I bring this part up because I've had recently some people asking me for consultations, and not just asking me for my time, but they're offering to pay me for my time. And over the years, I've been very clear that I don't take money from patients. I don't offer consultations in a paid format. Some people do, and that's fine. That's their thing, not mine. Not going to cross that line. But I've had some people offer me, the reason why I'm bringing this up is I've had a few people recently, more so than usual, offer me a lot of money for my time. And a couple in particular have asked, and I say, where they say, I want you to oversee my hair transplant journey, and I asked them, what exactly does that mean? Well, they want me to help them pick out the best clinic for them and engage with that clinic on their behalf with them. And they've offered me a lot of money for that. And I don't do that, people. Like, thank you, but I don't do that kind of thing. I've gone to these clinics. I've hopped on a plane and I've visited them. I had one doctor say that the paperwork and the hoops that I make them jump through to become a member of what I do, he said it's like writing his medical school thesis. It was a lot more difficult than he realized, and he's still in the process of getting his things together for me. But I'm mentioning that because the reason why I do this is so that you have a talented pool of candidates to choose from for your own journey. I don't know what you want. I'm talking to multiple people that have asked, actually anyone that's even considering asking me this. I don't know what you want, and you can tell me and I can get an idea just through dialogue, but I don't want that responsibility. I don't think it's fair to you because only you know truly what you want. And it's already enough of a a hurdle for you and your doctor to get on the same wavelength, to have a third party come in, no matter how qualified they may be, that muddies the waters even further. So for me to sit there and talk to a doctor on your behalf and then translate it into everyday patientese so that you can understand it better, which is, I'm very good at that, but to do that, it adds a layer of complexity. And I don't think that, regardless of what people pay me or offer to pay me, I don't think that's fair to you. I think that as a patient, you deserve to understand yourself what it is you're getting into. So take the time and review the content that I have put out in my hair transplant education series called Hair Transplant Class. It's a playlist right here on YouTube. Look at the videos I've made about the different clinics that have passed muster and are members of hairtransplantmentor.com, and observe why I say they're worth considering, in my opinion. You may disagree, and that's perfectly fine, because the point of that is there is no single best doctor for everyone. There's only the best doctor for you, and I can't choose who that is. I appreciate the trust that some of you have put in me, but part of why I do this is to educate you so that you're armed for your own due diligence. And I think it's important, because if you do that on your own, using the tools I've created and the tools that other resources have created, like American Hair Loss Association, even Specs Hair, or certainly hairlosscure2020.com, great resource. Bald Truth Talk, Hair Loss Experiences. You utilize these resources in addition to what I offer, and you're setting yourself up to not only make a better decision for yourself, you'll be able to understand why. You'll be able to appreciate the journey that you've been on just that much more than, as opposed to having hired guns like myself to come in and take care of the legwork for you, as far as asking the tough questions. You need to be able to do that for yourself. So sorry for the rant, but I thought that was important to get across to a lot of you that, thank you, have tried to hire me for your consultation purposes, but not going to do it. I have some very specific situations where I would consider it, and I have done it in the past, but I've never been paid to do it. I want to make that clear. I've never been paid for a consultation. So anyway, that's out of the way. This is a call-in talk show. The phone number is 1-833-563-4247. Toll-free in North America, Mexico, U.S., and Canada. Give me a call. Let's talk about your hair loss questions, your hair transplant surgery questions. That's what I'm here for. You can also use a calling app of your choice worldwide, such as Skype or any other calling app. Give me a call. Let's talk about it. Because it's a call-in show, I am not going to sit around here and continue to read questions from the chat room. I do appreciate everyone in the chat room, and I might answer a couple of them. But if I don't get a phone call, then I will be winding down for the day. I got a lot of stuff going on. Let's see what we do have going on in the chat room. What a tunnel graft for hair is. Milk Drinker, what is a tunnel graft for a hairpiece attachment? Man, you got some of the best questions, because it tells me you've been reading a lot. Tunnel grafts is a very, you could almost call it an ancient type of procedure. A tunnel graft is where tunnels are literally made in your scalp, where a hole is made in the front of your scalp, in the central hairline higher up, and then on either side of your the bilateral regions of your scalp. and it's a hole that's made in the skin. And it's made so that a hook from a hairpiece can latch onto your skin as an anchor for a wig. That is a tonal graft. Hope that makes sense for you. Anyway, let's see. FSK, if I offer you $1 million, I know you don't have it, so it's a moot question. Let's see, milk drinker. What I like about your recommended list is you don't aggressively shill them, but just say they're worth considering. That's true. That's true. They're all worth considering. Like, they're all very good at what they do, and they're all way better than average and better than most clinics out there. But I know that there are far too many people that have, well, I don't want to say far too many people, but there are people out there that have needs that maybe they can't meet based on their opinion, and that's fine. So that's why I never push it. That's why I never shill it, as he said. I just don't believe in it. You know, what I do, I create tools for the clinics. I work with them behind the scenes anyway to help them be better. I look at their workflow. I look at their patient flow. I helped a few clinics even hire staff remotely, and I've interviewed them like for consultants and things like that. So I did a lot of things. Let's see. Lars Rise Jepson. Hey, Joe, do you have an opinion on the flap procedure? I believe Trump got it many years ago. Yeah, it was dangerous. Very few people could perform it properly, and even then it wasn't ideal because it would seriously distort the natural angles and direction of hair flow on the scalp. It's quite, like, I won't go into a discussion about it now about how it's done, but it's very brutal. You guys think strip surgery is tough. Ooh, flap surgery makes it look like a walk in the park. Do I still see repairs of old plugs and flaps? I do. Yeah, I don't as often because I don't deal with patients directly nearly as often as I used to, but I do. I do get inquiries from people that are looking for repair options. So, yeah, I do. Toll free 1-833-563-4247. Got a big announcement for this week. If you saw a YouTube short that I uploaded earlier today, all this week it'll be the normal. I'm here to answer your questions, all that good fun stuff. I might have another guest lined up that's unconfirmed, and I will update everyone on that. But Thursday, we have Dr. Bevan Boyrule from the Sinclair Clinic, Sinclair Dermatology in Australia. He's going to be live taking your questions. And why is that of interest, or should it be of interest? Well, Dr. Rodney Sinclair, he's the OG when it comes to oral minoxidil research and its application for hair loss. He was the first to publish studies about this. He was the first to really take it seriously and to apply it on a large scale, relatively speaking, for studies. And Dr. Boyrule has been working at the clinic for a number of years, and he's intimately familiar with the intricacies of oral minoxidil and in the studies that were performed. He's actually very published himself in the field of dermatology with regards to oral minoxidil, as well as JAK inhibitors and other hair loss treatments for not just male pattern hair loss, but alopecia areata and other hair loss conditions that cover the spectrum. So I'm excited by this. Dr. Boyrule he's a good guy too. Like, I've known him for a while. I've helped him edit some of his content when he was a faculty member of Global Hair Loss Summit for I think all 3 years it's been around. I think all 3 years. And I've gotten to know him through discussions behind the scenes. I've sent him some dermatology patients that are fairly local to his clinic, and he's done a great job with them. So I'm really excited to have him on board for Thursday, the main event. It'll be at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern, and 10 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time, just as always. And you guys get to ask him questions about oral minoxidil. And some of you have had questions about the long-term side effects. He'll be able to answer those questions. So very excited to have him on board for Thursday. And yeah, he's a good guy. I think you guys will like him if you haven't seen him online already. And he'll be able to add a lot to the discussion about oral minoxidil. 1-833-563-4247. It is toll-free in North America and worldwide using calling apps of your choice, such as Skype. I am going to wind down here after these announcements if I don't get any phone calls. In the meantime, let's see. Milk Drinker, what areas of the scalp naturally have the most and least density on someone without hair loss? That's a good question. The occipital region of the scalp below the crown is usually highest density. The crown itself is usually lower density. And the top of the scalp in general is lower density. And let's see, how's that work out? And then the frontal hairline can have a higher density. Yeah, it does vary from patient to patient. It's not the same, but that's a general guide. But you'll generally see the highest density in the back of the scalp, rarely on the sides. Do you have anyone in mind that you would like to add to your list in the near future if all the conditions are met? That's from Sergey. Yeah, I'm in talks with 5 clinics. 5? 4 or 5. I got to get some information to another one. I'm waiting on content that I can review from 4 clinics. Wait. 4 clinics, yeah, that have applied, and they're getting their information together for me. And a 5th one I've been talking to see if it makes sense. So yeah, good question. AI Herbert, if you travel for FUT or FUE, how long until you can travel without bandages with just a baseball cap or a stocking cap to return home? That is dependent on the clinic. Now, in my experience, I would always tell patients that if you're going to, if you want to avoid the swelling issue, not just bandages, but if you want to avoid the swelling issue of your face, if you've had any work in the front or the mid scalp, is to leave immediately, leave the next day, come in for a hair wash the next morning, and then arrange your flight to leave that afternoon so you can be home before the real swelling begins to start. And that's usually by day 3 is when it really starts to kick in. So you want to be home for that. If you want to just wait until the swelling stops and give it a full week, and that would also be the case as far as bandages go. You want to give it a full week. So I think that would be the case also for FUE, again, depending on where you go. But because of the swelling issue is not just the domain of FUT, you also can get the same swelling with FUE, then I think that's the same across the board, about a week, because that's about how long it takes for the swelling to disappear. It's a good question. Thanks for asking that one. 833-563-4247, toll-free in North America. Give me a call. Joe, when is the MSM video? I have no idea. I got so many. It's not just videos I'm working on. Like I got some stuff behind the scenes I'm trying to work on. So I don't know. Is there any way for us laymen to watch the presentation doctors give to each others at the summits and events? No. Sorry. Can the hairline be recreated near original density? It can, and there are some clinics that have achieved that in one pass. I highly recommend that one does not seek that. If you want that kind of density, it takes at least 2 passes. But why do you want to go for native density when you don't need to have that kind of, you don't have to have actual native density or anywhere near it to appear like you have native density. Now, there's a unspoken rule that if you get 50% of your native density back, then it looks like full density. That's not true. It all comes from a paper. God, where did it come from? Was it from Dr. Shapiro? I think Dr. Shapiro was talking about the density issue. Maybe it came from somewhere else. Sorry, I'm scattered today, guys. Sorry, but the ratio or the range was 40 to 60% loss before you notice hair loss. Therefore, 40 to 60% of your density restored can look like native density. I don't buy it because there's so many other variables involved. Hair shaft diameter, hair color to scalp color contrast ratio, hair type, straight, wavy, curly, things like that. Those will also affect the appearance of density. I think in general, if you get 60% of original density, that's close enough. But I do know of cases where 80 per square centimeter was achieved in one pass. Hindsight, I think it was a waste of hair and a waste of money. It would have been just fine with 3/4 of that. There you go. Good question, though. Let's see. It's always, what do you think of mesotherapy efficacy? That also depends on who's performing the mesotherapy. In Europe, it's especially in Spain, it's quite effective, actually. I can't say it's more effective than oral or topical therapies such as finasteride or dutasteride, but mesotherapy utilizing dutasteride and sometimes a cocktail of dutasteride and some other ingredients is quite effective. And depending on how it's applied, it can also greatly reduce side effects. But in general, I think it's fine. Some clinics seem to have a better handle on it than others, just like with topical formulations. So I have no problem with it. I think it's a good idea. Again, if you find a clinic that has demonstrable consistency with their application of said mesotherapy. Nico, my boy, Joe, before your dad passed away, you mentioned he took Lonitin. Was it a health reason that he had to stop and switch? Sorry if too personal to ask. Apologies. Not at all. It was a blood pressure medication for him, and his doctor switched him. I have no idea why. I should ask my mom. She might remember, but I don't know. Thanks for the question. Hey, Graham. Rock and roller. I've been seeing your Instagram, buddy. You're jamming out. Graham, before transplant, do you recommend trying oral minoxidil at the same time finasteride? No, I don't recommend trying any medications or starting them at the same time. I think you're not on finasteride. Maybe you are. I don't remember. But I think that if one is not taking medication of any sort of treatment, start one at a time. Give it a minimum 6 months to see if there's any sort of benefit with it. Because if you're taking multiple treatments at one time and you're having this great result, and then you want to cut back because of financial reasons or whatever, you don't know which one is actually doing its thing. So you're basically stuck taking both treatments because you don't know if you stop one or the other, you'll lose your results. So I think that I think if you're on one of them right now, I see no problem with starting a second one. But I'm also weary of starting second treatments on top of one treatment, because if you don't feel like the first one's working, or actually if you don't feel like the second one's working after 6 months to a year, and you stop taking it, there's still a chance you could shed, because maybe it was helping on some level, just not enough for you to see an aesthetic improvement. Got a call? I think I know who this is. Hey, you're on the main event. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
It's Morty from Brooklyn.
I knew it. How you doing, Morty?
I'm good, man. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Had a great weekend. Can't complain. How about you?
I had a pretty decent weekend. I'm struggling with seasonal allergies. It's been pretty bad over here. I'm actually back on prednisone again, which
I'm
really
sorry to hear
stand.
that. I used to get allergies pretty bad, but not this year for some reason. Touch wood.
You're lucky. Yeah. Nah, the thing was, I got this like upper respiratory and something, and that just kicked off the whole thing. Because I also get asthma. It's just really annoying.
Okay.
I think I was joking with Spencer. It's like I'm like Felix Unger from The Odd Couple.
Right on. Well, what's new, man? What's going on today?
Oh yeah, so there was something new. You know me, I'm always one to like to try new things.
Mm-hmm.
So Dr. Cole did a TED on me on Saturday.
Alrighty then.
Yeah, so I wanted to share with the class what that was like.
With the class, okay. Give the listeners and viewers a breakdown real quick of what TED is before you get into the actual experience, because a lot of people don't know what that is.
Yeah. So TED is a product from a company called Alma Laser,
mm-hmm.
and it is called a Trans-Epidermal Delivery System. That's what the TED stands for. It's not a TED Talk, but I suspect their marketing guys probably decided to call it TED because it would sound well recognized for that reason.
Of course.
Basically what it is it's a machine which has like a gun-shaped handle, and on the tip there's this aluminum piece that's a single-use piece that gets screwed on, and inside, on the front facing of this piece of aluminum, there's this well. It's small. The thing is probably about maybe about half an inch or 3/4 of an inch long, and the well itself is probably only about 1/4 of a centimeter in diameter. It's really small.
Mm-hmm.
And what you do is that you press that device onto the scalp that you're going to treat, and what it does is it basically introduces a lot of high frequency vibration, which is, I guess they're calling it sonic energy. It's very, very high frequency. You can hear it, you can sort of hear it and feel it when it's pressed against your head. It's sort of like a buzzer, it's buzzing. You feel a buzzing sensation when it's placed on your head.
Mm-hmm.
What it does essentially is it opens up, this is according to the literature, it opens up microchannels in your epidermis, hence trans-epidermal delivery.
Mm-hmm.
And once those microchannels are opened, you basically smear on this what do they call that stuff? It's not a SAF. It's it's a liquid that they put on there. So
mm-hmm.
what you do is you do a first pass dry to kind of open up the channels, and then they do a second pass with their serum, is what it's called.
Serum. I was going to say gel or serum.
Yeah,
okay.
The term is it's a serum, and then that serum is in turn it's partially vaporized and partially pushed through those same microchannels that were open in the first pass. And the serum has a lot of interesting ingredients in it, a lot of the vehicles like castor oil and some amino acids, and there are some fairly well-known what do they call them, peptides in there. There's a copper peptide in there.
Okay, yep.
Which at least there's some evidence that stuff can be growth triggering.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Cole's actually had some pretty good,
Did he happen to include thrombin in this?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
No.
Right.
I saw I can get you an ingredient list if you want. I just don't have it with me right now.
Okay.
But some of it is just described as amino acids, so they're not necessarily giving away the store in terms of which particular peptides are in there. But that's pretty much what it does. So essentially, there's two benefits. The first benefit is a similar benefit that you might get from microneedling, because in effect you're making microtraumas to the scalp, although you really wouldn't know it because it's not painful at all.
Mm-hmm.
The skin, the scalp, thank God, which I don't see too much of these days. For some people who are very fair skinned, can get a little bit pink. Basically, so that sort of effect could be stimulatory, and then of course there's the effect of the actual serum itself.
Okay.
I just got a serum. I didn't. The other thing that Dr. Cole also has been experimenting with is using other types of drugs, which he believes is the molecules are small enough to get into those microchannels. Things like a finasteride or a dutasteride.
Okay.
So it would be the equivalent of a mesotherapy, if you will, except using the TED.
Okay.
Yeah, he's even experimenting with using some of his CRP because while the platelets are too big, if you break up the platelets into the cytokines, then those may make it through as well.
Yeah, I was wondering. He mentioned that before. I think when he was either on the show a few weeks ago, or maybe in conversation I was having with him not long before that. And I was wondering if it was transferable through this mechanism of TED. But it's interesting. And your verdict so far about the experience, what would you say? What would you say about it?
Well, I mean, it didn't take very long. Basically, the serum the serum ampule is about 6 milliliters, and what they tell you to do is you have to do a 2 square centimeter area per milliliter. So that basically gives you about 6 zones on the head to go, and so one zone is going to be from the part of your from the bottom of your crown to like 2 centimeters below that. So it probably ends up being about where that ridge in the back of your head is, to get the bottom of the crown. And then the second zone for me was from the top of the crown to his 2 centimeters closer to the mid scalp. The third one was from that zone to the forelock. The fourth zone was forelock and whatever you got. And then the 2 remaining zones would be zones on the lateral sides.
Okay.
One on the left, one on the right.
Okay.
Each zone, you do 2 minutes dry. So you go over the zone for 2 minutes dry, and then you go over the zone. Then you moisten the area with the serum, and then you go over that zone a second time wet. And so basically, the whole thing is going to be. You figure it's about 4 minutes times 6. So there you have it. 24 minutes to do the whole thing, essentially.
Now, just I never thought of this question before. Once that initial dry pass is done to, as you said, open the channels, how long before they start to open or close up?
Well, they say they start to close within half an hour. So I mean, theoretically, you could go dry, through the entire area and then go wet, but it's, ideally you don't want to delay. The other interesting thing is after you get it done, you're told basically not to shampoo your scalp for 24 hours. So my guess is that those channels open for quite a while.
And probably due to possible irritation. Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. Okay. All right. And, all right. So what's the goal of this at this point? Because you're 10 months. How far are you out from? No,
I'm already into my 6th month.
6
pretty
months.
Close to, I'm coming into my 6th month now. One of the counterindications is that the manufacturer doesn't recommend that you use a treatment like this on an area that has seen surgery within the first 6 months. So, I mean, I'm kind of cutting it a little bit close, but I'm pretty well healed, so I'm not too worried about it.
What's the danger or the potential issue?
They just basically suggested not to do it. I mean, I can imagine that it may, like, if you have, I guess if you have any open wounds or if you have any irritation, it might aggravate the irritation, I think.
Okay. Well, all right. I'm curious about that. Having any treatment is 6 months while you're still in the middle of a developmental stage. I'm wondering why that decision was made. Yeah.
Oh. How can I say this? Mostly just so that I could know what it was like, and I could prepare an experience report, which Dr. Cole can use. Okay. Yeah, and I trust him. He doesn't seem all that concerned with it affecting me negatively. So
Okay. So you talked about this then, as far as the potential for doing it in the middle of your recovery at 6 months.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Yeah.
And he felt
that's why
it was
I waited
okay.
until he wanted to do it sooner. I said no, I want to wait.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Got to ask the question because
no, it's a fair question, and that's why I basically waited. I waited because the manufacturer basically said to wait.
Yeah. And I have to ask the question because my position is don't do anything for minimum 9 months, but preferably up to a year because of the potential. Well, I think there's potential issues with adding treatments, but hey, what's done is done. I hope it gives you an improvement to your recovery.
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out. I guess that's it. Because
to be honest, I'm very satisfied with the way things are looking at the moment. This is more just a hey, let's give this a try.
Let's call a spade, Morty. This is hair greed. Okay, don't bullshit a bullshitter. This is hair greed.
I'm not going to lie. Of course not.
Pure and simple.
It is.
Yeah. Oh, I want to see what it's going to be like. No, you want more hair.
Who the fuck does it?
Oh, I want to help Dr. Cole create a usage report. No, you want more hair. Don't bullshit me, man.
Yeah, well, I look, dude. I'm not going to lie with respect to that. I certainly would like.
And if it happens to benefit him to where he can put together a patient experience report, then so be it. Mm-hmm. But that's not why you went in there. But I would, yeah. But
I also like to call you guys and to tell you what's up because my last few calls have been kind of boring. So I figured throw something in there to make
There's
it more
nothing boring about you, my friend. You'll always bring zest and excitement to the show, and you are. I mean, even here the main event, which you've probably you've actually called the main event more than you've called the Bald Truth in the past 6 months. Even though I've only been broadcasting for 2 months, and it has to do with the numbers because I'm Monday through Thursday, and you've called not every episode, but certainly every week, and And I appreciate that. I appreciate the support. It helps.
I appreciate what you do. I mean, believe me, I wouldn't have found Dr. Cole if it wasn't for you. So that's easy. And the only reason I don't call that much on Fridays is because the time slot on Friday is a little problematic because Mom is, I like to have dinner with Mom, and that's usually when it hits. And
Morning, just say that you don't like Spencer, okay? You can say that here. It's a safe space.
He might be listening, man. I can't be saying stuff like that.
He listens to the replay.
Right? But yeah, I just figured I'd share that with people. As far as its value, I would say, obviously look in your wallet. It's not cheap. In order to get it done properly, you can't just do a one and done. The manufacturer recommends 3 treatments once a month, I believe, for 3 months, and then I think it's every 3 months, once every quarter after that, or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what they're talking about. It's certainly a lot less. Like I said, I did microneedling before, and that was torturous compared to this. This was like a walk in the park.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's a plus.
PRP sucks. I don't like that. Like you got the numbing shots, then the injections, and hopefully the numbing shots worked, and then the microneedling afterwards. Oh hell no! Mm-hmm. I don't want to do that again.
Yeah. The other things that are also interesting have to do with using other things, like I said, the CRP. The big trick there isn't really for the patient. It's actually for the provider because, as I mentioned, the stuff gets aerosolized. Mm-hmm. So if you're dealing with a blood product getting aerosolized, there could be some risk of disease to the person who's administering. So.
Yeah, of course. You always infection or okay. So, but that's the risk with any sort of application where skin is being broken and some sort of product is being delivered. So but that's part of the game, my friend. But thank you for calling, Morty. It's always great to hear from you. Did you hear about the announcement for this Thursday? my special guest.
Mm-hmm. No, I did not. I just tuned in just now. Who is it?
Dr. Bevan Boy Rule from the Sinclair Clinic in Australia.
Oh, Mr. Oral Minoxidil, huh?
Yes, exactly. So
that's going to be interesting.
I've been talking to him past several days trying to get that secured, and it worked out. Originally June 8th is what he told me. I'm like, no, Bevan, no. Mm-hmm. Earlier than that, you need to give me some time. He goes like, okay. So then it worked out, and so next Thursday, it'll be Friday morning for him, and he's got free time on Fridays. So I'm excited because I think some important oral minoxidil questions will be answered, such as long-term side effects and efficacy. If anyone knows, this guy will. So be sure to tune in on Thursday because he is going to be taking questions. So you can,
and I may call in because I use oral minoxidil, so I'm very curious to put for the good doctor with questions.
There you go. Excellent. So, all right, my friend. Thanks for calling. You have a good one. We'll talk to you later, okay? Bye-bye.
Take care.
1-833-563-4247. We're toll-free North America, Mexico, Canada, United States. Give me a call. And, of course, anywhere worldwide using your favorite calling app. What we got here in the chat room? Okay, discussions going on. By the way, like this program, okay? Hit the like button. I see room for improvement, people. And if you're watching this broadcast and you'd like to take part in the chat room, you have to be a subscriber. And why wouldn't you want to take part in the chat room? You got Milk Drinker, you got FSJ, you got Graham, you got Mike Pedroza. You got these guys that have pretty good basic knowledge from watching this show. And if I can't answer your questions, they can. I watch you guys. You guys are smart. You pay attention, and I appreciate every one of you. So subscribe, and of course, hit the like button to get all notifications, especially notification for this Thursday's show when I will be having Dr. Bevan Boy Rule from the Sinclair Clinics, Sinclair Dermatology out of Australia. These are the OG guys for oral minoxidil. The studies and all the information that everyone else is getting. When I say everyone, I mean all the hair transplant doctors that are now prescribing oral minoxidil. It all comes from these guys at Sinclair Dermatology. Rodney Sinclair, Dr. Bevan Boy Rule, and the team there at Sinclair Dermatology. Even, I didn't even realize this, Dr. Jerry Cooley, who was my first guest here on the main event. I think he's my first. Yeah. Wait, it was either him or Dr. Nussbaum. I think it was Dr. Cooley. He started prescribing oral minoxidil because of the Sinclair publications about oral minoxidil. I thought that was very interesting. I didn't even realize that until he told me that. But so be sure to tune in. And like I said, if you're not subscribed, subscribe and ring the bell to get the notification of that show. And hit the like button for today's episode. Got more questions I'll be answering if you guys give me a call. It's toll free, 833-563-4247. It is currently 9 minutes till 4 p.m. Pacific time. If I don't get any calls, I will be shutting down. In the meantime, let's see what we got in the chat room. Jose, bless, month 5 mark at my left corner, finally starting to fill in. Booyah! 2,300 grafts, 2,000 to the front, edges and temples, 300 to the crown. Good for you. Glad to hear it. Weren't you asking earlier if the side was going to fill in? It was either you or someone. I don't remember. Let's see. What's going on here? Who was that? That was, don't know who that was. Let's see. No, I did not meet Dr. Seeger. Questions. Jose, like the video. Yes, please, everyone, like the video. Yeah, Gypsy, thank you. Nussbaum was first. That's right. Let's see. Joe, if you were to give a TED or TEDx talk, what would it be on? It's a good question. Probably... If I were to give a TED talk, obviously about hair of in some range of that subject, it would probably be on the counterintuitive nature of no marketing. That's my own term, no marketing. And I've come up with an approach that some of my clinics have taken on called no marketing under my guidance. And it has worked very well. And it all has to do with putting barriers in front of patients to make them learn about what they're getting themselves into before the clinic accepts them as a patient. It's very counterintuitive, and most clinics are like, "You want me to do what? You want me to say no to the patient?" Yeah, I do. Because my philosophy about hair transplant surgery is the same philosophy that I put into my hair transplant channel here on YouTube, my website, and someone was talking about hair transplant marketing earlier, and my first class on the hair transplant class playlist of this YouTube channel, the very first words I say of the very first video I put out, do not have a hair transplant. And it morphs into the message that if you don't know about the potential downsides of hair transplant surgery, don't have surgery until you understand that it's not perfect. It's not a perfect procedure. It's performed by people, and people can have a bad day, or people can screw up. If you're not in a position where you can accept that, then if something does happen that's bad, then it'll affect you negatively much more than if you went in understanding the potential downsides. It's kind of a summary. But when a clinic does that, when they talk about the potential downsides or put barriers in front of the patient to where they have to learn something before they can move on to the next level, that makes them better patients. It makes them happier patients when they have their surgery. And it's the responsible way of presenting yourself as a clinic to potential patients. And then everyone wins. Even if the outcome isn't the best, it's a much better situation than if a clinic is making all kinds of stupid promises that can't be 100% fulfilled every time. It's much better than that. So that's what I would talk about. I would talk about the counterintuitive nature of educating patients before you take their money. That wouldn't be the title, but that's the concept, because it works. But the clinic has to be good for it to work. If you're some plastic surgery clinic that's offering hair transplant surgery as an adjunct to lip fillers and butt lifts and tummy tucks, it doesn't work. You have to be focused. You have to be dedicated. I could talk about this for hours, but yeah, that's what I talk about. Hope that helps. Yeah, when a clinic talks about potential risks openly, it makes them appear more respectable and sincere. It does. It does scare off some people, but if it scares them off, you don't want them as patients to begin with. That's my thinking behind that, because it's a two-way street. And if you have patients that are like, okay, well, that's interesting. Let me learn more about this, and they still come back to you, that's a good patient, because they do understand or seem to. Anyway, like I could talk about that for hours, like I said, but I won't. But that's that's a subject I still find interesting, and I've spoken a lot about it with the doctors I work with. Okay, Sergey, what do you think of FUE Europe? Are they reliable in terms of their membership standards? That is not a standards organization. It's an educational organization, just like the ISHRS. Just like World FUE Institute, just like these aren't membership organizations that require a certain sort of standard of care or ability or talent. It's simply an organization to encourage education and to impart education, actually, where they'll have workshops at every year's event, and it's great. I've not been to. I attended one virtually where I sent in a talk that was similar to what Milk Drinker was saying. Was asking about if I were to give a TED talk. It was similar to that, and it's a great opportunity for doctors that want to learn more to learn more. Great presentations, surgeries being performed. Let me in and observe, because I don't. They know it's valuable to them, I guess, because I speak favorably about them. But it's fun and it's great for doctors to learn. I had a lot of discussions with doctors that were coming out of it going, "Wow, I didn't know this, or I didn't know that, or I learned something." And so FUE Europe is great for that too. So yeah, hope that answers the question. Let's see, about to book a flight from Manchester to Atlanta to see my buddy and respected surgeon, Dr. John Cole. Good, Andrew. Good to hear. All right, phone call. Who is this? Sounds local. Hey, you're on the main event. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Oh, hey, Joe. It's Charlie calling from Vancouver.
I knew it was you, Charlie. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing pretty good, Joe. Thanks.
Right on. What's going on? What can I help you with?
Well, I was calling in about a couple things.
Okay.
One was, I think I told you last time, I was a car guy.
Uh-huh.
A couple of my cars used to be Boss 302 Mustang.
Uh-huh.
And
the old one or the new one?
Oh, the old one.
Okay.
1970.
Good man. Okay.
And 69 Camaro SS 427.
Okay.
But that's on another topic. The other thing was a couple of the doctors you've talked to recently were sort of giving their opinions on TRT.
Mm-hmm.
And one in particular, I forget which one it was, but he was talking about playing with somebody's TRT level in terms of managing. I'm just on a bike ride, that's why I'm huffing and puffing.
Mm-hmm.
To manage hair loss, and it sort of, what would I say, bothered me a bit.
Mm-hmm.
I've been on TRT for a year and a half, and my partner has been on TRT, a woman, for a year.
Yeah.
And we've learned a lot about it, but we both take finasteride, and hair loss hasn't been affected at all. And when one of the doctors, he was talking about, lowering a TRT level down to like 700.
Uh-huh.
And when I started TRT, I was at 600.
Uh-huh.
And, I've gotten more into the 900, 1,000 range.
Mm-hmm.
And, I can tell you that taking finasteride and messing with my DHT had definite effects on me. Now, I think it was Dr. Cole that said, when some guys got to choose between sex and hair, they choose the hair.
Yeah.
But, it definitely had an impact on my libido and that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And, DHT, when we get into these things, a lot of us dive pretty deep into the research and stuff. And it's not a simple subject, no simpler than hair surgery. And there's a lot of bro science and opinions around it, eh?
Of course. Oh, yeah.
And one of the things about DHT, of course, is that it's, 3 to 10 times more powerful than the original testosterone molecule in terms of androgenic effects, right?
Yeah.
So if you're taking finasteride, you've already taken a lot of power out of your male hormone system, and I sort of got on TRT to try and mitigate some of the side effects, which it has.
Yep.
And so I guess and you hear like Dr. Cole was saying, oh yeah, 900 to 1100, that's where you should be. This other doctor was saying, 700. And I guess my point is that, experts commenting on things they're experts in is one thing, but commenting on things they may not be experts in is another thing. And so, I just wanted to add my 2 cents worth for guys that, I'll tell you one other thing that sort of I've listened to for a long time and sort of bothers me a bit is when Spencer says, if he wasn't worried about his hair, he'd get on TRT and get jacked. Well, I can tell you that getting your testosterone level up to 900, 1,000, 1,100 does not get you jacked. This is just sort of normal male hormones. If you're getting jacked on TRT, you're actually into a whole different level of hormone, right? The regular TRT is only meant to help enhance. I'm 65 years old.
Yeah.
It's just meant to help restore normal, healthy parameters that you used to have maybe when you're 20 or 30, eh?
Yeah, no, fair enough.
So,
but when it comes to like Spencer, he works out heavy as it is, and if he were to go get his T levels tested, and he found out that he was low, and he would consider taking T to bring it up even higher, and he's kind of speaking tongue in cheek on that about getting jacked, but he's I don't want to speak for him, but I do find it to be an interesting subject. And with regards to what Dr. Cole was saying, I think that when it comes to testosterone levels, and you got people saying, well, mine was at this level, and it's higher than what someone was saying, Dr. Cole was saying, and whatnot. I look at testosterone sensitivity as being a factor. Like just because someone's numbers might be technically low, it doesn't mean that it's low for them. There's a sensitivity aspect to this, just like with DHT. And one person's low testosterone might be another person's normal testosterone, and they have no deficiencies because of it. It's all about how their body processes it, reacts to it, the sensitivity levels, and so on and so forth. Would you agree with that? Does that make sense to you?
Well, it does to a degree, and I guess the thing that I'm saying is that it's a deep subject.
Oh yeah.
You can go way down that rabbit hole, and there's a lot of bro science around it, and a lot of opinions as opposed to facts. And I guess all I'm trying to relay is my experience. And when I hear a doctor saying he's interfering, it wasn't Dr. Cole that said that, it was another doctor.
Mm-hmm.
He's interfering with somebody's TRT program to manipulate their hair loss. My experience and my understanding of things would say that's delving into an area where nobody really knows enough to make a real opinion on how things are going to be affected. And my experience has been, I was losing hair at 600 of testosterone, and that's just total testosterone.
Yeah.
And now my testosterone is up around 1,000, but being on finasteride, I'm not losing any hair, and neither is my partner, who was losing hair, but she's on testosterone and finasteride as well. So I guess I'm just saying, hair doctors posing as hormone replacement doctors sort of just bothered me a bit, because I feel like they're moving out of their area of expertise and more offering ideas of their own, and people listening to it can be influenced by it, and not necessarily.
I totally understand. I totally understand what you're saying. In Dr. Cole's defense, I do know that he spends a lot of time researching outside of the traditional hair loss and hair restoration surgery vertical that he's in. But I think that he would also agree with you that, that's just something that that's his opinion, generally speaking. And he may be the first to agree with you saying, I mean, it could be completely wrong based on individual characteristics and so on and so forth. But I do appreciate what you're saying. I do get what you're saying. And I agree that sometimes it's counterproductive for people to step outside of their specialty and offer advice in that area. But maybe he does know something that he knows something I don't. That's for sure, because I don't follow this very much. But I appreciate your opinions, and I really appreciate you calling in to talk about it, because Chris, I'm not getting calls today. What the hell's going on? You're on your bicycle. No, I appreciate you.
I'll put a shout out to guys like Milk Drinker and FSK and tell them to get into the show once in a while, because I really am enjoying what you're doing and having the talk. I'm looking forward to the oral minoxidil. We're both taking oral minoxidil as well, so I'm really looking forward to getting more information on that, because it's sort of a gray area too. You know, there's not a whole lot of solid information out there. So it'll be interesting to hear what. Yeah,
it'll be a really good show. So be sure to tune in on that. I appreciate your support as always, Chris. Thank you for calling. Enjoy your bike ride, and we'll talk to you soon. Maybe on Thursday.
It was Charlie, by the way.
Charlie? Oh, I thought you said Chris. Okay, Charlie. Got it. All right, we'll talk to you later, buddy. Thank you.
Part of the Harry Horty senior.
All right, take care. Bye-bye. That was Charlie riding probably the seawall around Vancouver on his bicycle. He's always on his bike when he calls in. Toll free 1-833-563-4247. Throughout North America, Mexico, U.S., and Canada, give me a call. And of course, if you're anywhere in the world using your favorite calling app, you can also give me a shout. 833-563-4247. I guess I could put that up on the screen. I keep forgetting to do that. There we go. There you go. Right down here in the corner, you can use that number to give me a call, and let's talk about hair loss and hair restoration. If you're not aware of it, this coming Thursday. Oh, here we go. Got another call. I think I know who this is. Hey, you're on the main event. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Hey, Joe. This is Gypsy from LA.
Hello. I'm sorry. What's the name? Oh, Gypsy.
Gypsy.
Hey,
yeah,
Gypsy.
Yeah.
How you doing, sir?
You're not. Well, I felt sorry for you. You're not getting calls, so I'm like, hey, I'm taking a trip to the store, so might as well call, right?
Well, thank you very much. I do what I can, right, to get calls. If I got to throw out the sympathy card, I'm going to. So.
No. I hear you.
What's new with you?
Not much. Just getting back on the topical minoxidil until I see my doctor to see if I can get on the oral.
Mm-hmm.
I had stopped it back in November, I believe.
Okay.
Or December, just to gauge, finasteride on its own.
Yeah.
And of course, the from where I started, from baseline to now, which has been almost a year and a half. There's been obviously benefits.
Mm-hmm.
And in my way of seeing things, if you can slow it down, you're already winning. If you can stop it, you're more than winning.
Mm-hmm.
If you get some back, you're one of the rare ones. And if you get a lot back, well, God bless you.
Then if you get a lot back, go buy a lottery ticket.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, but I wanted to gauge just the finasteride by itself.
Okay.
Because truth be told, I know you hear this from many people. Is like, yeah, just putting it on twice a day, this and that.
Mm-hmm.
I was doing it once a day actually. So
see, I feel that's manageable. Like I've never been a fan. Like, who has time to do something twice a day? I don't.
Well, I'll tell you what. I saw this kid on YouTube who I thought he seemed like he was going on a good path of like this whole, getting on medication. He was doing his channel and everything. Young kid. He kind of reminded me of like, he might be the next Mr. Rolandos. But then just maybe a month ago, he did a 180, and he's like, "Oh, I gotta accept nature. I don't like this, and if I go bald, I go bald."
Who is this?
His name is Victor Emery.
Victor Emery.
Young kid. His videos were, for the most part, very down to earth with good info, not over the top, not trying to sell anything and all that stuff. It seems like he did his research, right?
Okay.
But I believe he did one video where he said, "Look, this is my routine. I put my minoxidil right next to my toothbrush, because I have to wash my teeth twice a day, and when I do that, I take advantage to do the minoxidil at the same time that I do my brushing on my teeth.
Mm-hmm.
And my finasteride, I put them with my vitamins and minerals that I take once a day." And I thought that was a brilliant, just wait to see it. It's like, okay, well, it takes 5 seconds, 5 minutes, whatever it takes to put on the minoxidil right
Mm-hmm.
next to your toothbrush. And it's like, instead of me trying to remember, trying to think of it as a chore, it's just an extra time that I do with things that I have to do for my hygiene and my maintenance of, my teeth.
Right.
But, well, going back to what I was saying, I did start getting back into it just a few days back, because I did see the difference. For me, at least, I did see the difference. And even though I'm maintaining, actually not only maintaining, I did have some vellus hairs on the crown that just started getting a lot better just with finasteride alone.
Mm-hmm.
But I did notice that minoxidil did have a benefit. After I stopped it, and I'm like, well, I'd rather do the oral, but that's going to be a slower process. In the meanwhile, I have so many counts that are accumulating because I'm on a plan on one of these metal odor things. So I'm just accumulating the minoxidil. Might as well use it, right?
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, that's what's going on. I mean,
all right. Well,
nothing too much of the here.
All right, when are you going to switch to oral minoxidil? When are you going to pull the trigger on that?
Well, I'm just waiting for my doctor. Well, not necessarily my doctor, because I don't really trust my doctor to have that conversation.
Okay.
But the good thing is that the clinic that I go to, or the organization that I go to, my brother is one of the directors in there.
Okay.
Right.
All right.
So he knows all the doctors, and one of the doctors is actually one of my clients in the tax business.
Okay. Well, one of your clients, what?
So the one of the doctors that works in that clinic, he's one of our clients. We have a tax practice.
Oh, okay.
He's one of our
Got
clients.
it.
He does his taxes with us. Right?
Yeah.
And young kid and everything. I talked to him over the phone when we're doing his taxes and everything. And I had a conversation with my brother, and I say, "Hey, will so and so be open to have this conversation? And since he's part of the organization, is it possible that maybe I switch to him and he can maybe do the prescription?" I'm like, all legit. I'm not trying to get him in trouble or anything like that. I'm like, I'll send them all the research and all this stuff. And my brother's like, "Yeah, I think he will do it." It's like he would be fine. So I'm just trying to work that out, probably in the next month or two.
All right. Well, I suggest you give the show a call on Thursday. You can actually ask Dr. Bevan Borul about oral minoxidil if you got more questions about it.
Yeah,
because he'll certainly know more than your current doctor about its use.
Oh, definitely.
And keep in mind, it can't be specific to your case that he can give you his input, but just generalized questions that the answers you probably won't get anywhere else. I think it'll be a valuable show for you to tune into and call, and hopefully we can get you through so you can talk to him. He's really easy to talk to as well. He's a really nice guy.
Oh, well, I definitely have that on my list of things. I'm like, okay, I gotta make sure I keep that, time open, because, I get meetings and I do things. I'm like, let me keep it open. I did hear that you were gonna have them this Thursday, so I'm like, okay, let me plan around that now.
Right on. Yeah, get your executive assistant on the line. Cancel all appointments 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. on Thursday. blocking that time off. I'll be in my office listening to Joe Tillman on the main event. Tell everyone.
I like the way you think, but what makes you think that I make enough money to have an executive assistant?
Because you got doctors for clients. Ooh.
Yeah,
you let that out of the bag.
I did. But,
Just kidding.
I'm one of those guys, I'm kind of like you guys. I'm one of those guys that I'm like, okay, I know someone's going to charge you an arm and a leg, but I'd rather just like make sure that you know what you're doing.
There you go.
Thing,
That's good, man.
Taxes like hair transplants is like, look, if I die tomorrow, you need to know what kind of a mess you can get yourself into. There
you go. Well said. Yeah. Right on.
So,
all right, buddy.
But yeah, I did have one very quick question.
Okay. Hit me.
It's just about transaction.
Mm-hmm.
So when we're talking about transaction and hair transaction, are we talking about permanent damage to the follicles, or it depends?
Good question. In general, yes. When you talk about transection, you're talking about destruction of the target graft, the target follicle,
mm-hmm.
excuse me, or even neighboring follicles, depending on the nature of the transection. So if we're talking about the donor area, transection mm-hmm. would be caused from the punch. If we're talking about FUE, would be caused to the target follicle by the punch, because the punch is not in line with the exit angle of the graft or of the follicle. So if you come in and you're not on the same trajectory of its exit, then eventually as the punch sinks into the tissue, it will cross over into the bulk of the follicle and cut through it. Now, here's the funny part about that is you can do a full transection or a partial transection. And a partial transection is if you have a multi-hair unit and you only want to remove one of the hairs or two of the hairs from a multi-hair unit. This is intended transection or intentional transection, where some clinics will take out part of a graft, part of a follicle, in order to maintain the donor area, so there's no missing hair, and the original follicle can continue to grow in the donor area. This is
it's like splitting it in the body as
exactly. Now this is not a common thing. It's difficult to do, and there's no consistency with it. In fact, there was a clinic around 20 years ago, or in the early 2000s, made its name for hair multiplication, where they were claiming that they could take a follicle from the donor area, place it into the recipient area of the scalp, and the follicle would still regrow in the donor area. Mm-hmm. And they're claiming a stem cell. They're calling it a stem cell hair transplant. What they were doing is they were performing intentional transection, where they would take a single hair out of a multi-hair grouping and transplant it, and that's why all of this clinic's results looked wispy at best. They're getting growth,
was it?
But the results looked very wispy because they were single hair grafts, and they were very small procedures, and there's too much damage to the grafts, to the follicles themselves, and what happens is it can grow kinky because of the damage. It just doesn't look good. I'm not going to say who it was. You're about to ask me who it was, but.
Well, no, this was in Europe. Wasn't like in the Netherlands or somewhere over there? I remember seeing something like that. That he was actually claiming cloning or some sort of that nonsense, that it was like
multiplication.
I think he was claiming it's like, we split it in half and the other half grows, and then the other half, when we implant it, grows the other half. And so, I know he got taken to court. I know exactly.
Now there are cases where that's possible on a very limited scale, and I've seen it done, but it is intentional and inconsistent. So there's that.
Right.
Now there's also recipient site transection, where you're making the recipient site, cutting a little slot into the scalp, and you're transecting the native hair because you can't, because again, you're not matching angle and direction of the surrounding hairs. That can also lead to transection. So, which leads to shock loss.
Okay, so then the permanent transection is because the follicle, I would assume most of the time, doesn't have the ability to regenerate itself where the damage was, and that therefore, it's permanent, and that's it.
Well, it can not so much regenerate itself, but sometimes a transection is not a complete transection. It can be an unintentional partial, where either some of the hair will regrow out of that follicle, or it's just slightly damaged to the point where it will grow, but it just doesn't grow like it used to. It doesn't have the health. It might come out kinky and wiry where it was straight before. You'll see that in the recipient. You'll see that in the donor area as well. Not so much with strip. I've seen that actually with strip surgery and the trichophytic closure, where some of the hairs are transected during that trichophytic creation process, and because the sliver they take off one edge of the wound is a bit too deep, and it can cause a bit of transection, so that when those hairs grow through the scar, they just don't look very good, and it kind of defeats the purpose of the process to begin with. But yeah, those are two kinds that you'll really run into. The intentional transection is not really worth talking about. I just want to be thorough with my answer. But when you see transection being mentioned, it's almost never talking about that. It's just the unintentional damage of hair from either a punch or a blade or needle making recipient sites.
Okay, and related to that, because this is something that I thought since the beginning when I started doing my research. Related to that, it's also shock loss, right? Mm-hmm. Especially in the recipient area.
Well, that's the outcome of transection, shock loss.
Okay. Now, I heard you guys say that it could be, temporary or permanent, and so for me, part of what you guys recommend, knowing all the risks and things that could happen, for me, and keeping the numbers simple. Let's say if you have 1,000 grafts that you're going to transplant, and if you factor in that a really good transaction rate might be 5%, and a really good survival rate or shock loss might be another 5%, that's going to go out of the window. In reality, you're only getting 900 grafts. I mean, that's realistically what you should be tuning yourself into. Am I off the mark here, or?
If you're going for 1,000 grafts, expect about 900 to manifest to grow. Right.
Between maybe a 5% transaction, which from what I've seen, it's considered low, and maybe 5% that you're going to lose, on survivability, then you're really losing about 10% of what the intended target is. That's
a really good question. I think what a lot of people don't realize is that when you're dealing with FUE, if you go to a good clinic, the transection rate doesn't necessarily translate to what's been placed, because sometimes clinics, when they're making when they're scoring the graft, I'm not talking about extraction, they're scoring first, where you're cutting the graft with a punch. That's called scoring. They can feel that they've actually hit the bulk of the follicle with their punch, and they won't even extract it. They just leave it. Sometimes they'll start to extract it, and they'll see that it's been damaged or transected, and they'll slide it right back in, because the best place for a transected graft to be is in its original location, and it can recover fine, but it's different clinics will also document their transection rates differently. Like the goal is to not place a graft that's been transected. They're not going to look at a graft and see that it's been transected and then place it into the recipient area. So back to your original question, no. If you go in for 1,000 grafts, you should expect 1,000 grafts to be placed, and you should expect 1,000 grafts to more or less grow. If you believe their growth rate, which will be different from the transection rate, then 950, 980 grafts will grow.
Okay.
Because, and again, every clinic will have a different answer. It's because of the X factor. Like sometimes they just don't grow, and we don't know why. Or there could be some damage during the procedure because multiple people are handling it, and it's hard to maintain that kind of consistency across the board. So some of them will be killed off from the process, but clinics will not knowingly. The good ones will not look at a graft that's been transected and knowingly place it. So the inverse can actually be assumed that if you got 1,000 grafts that are placed, there might be 1,050 that were attempts, and only 1,000 were taken out where it was deemed successful. So you might have 1,050. You might have 1,050 punctate wounds in your donor area. But but say 50 of them actually still have a follicle inside of it because they didn't take it out, or they took it out and they slid it back in. Does that make sense?
I see. Yeah, no. Yeah, it does. Yeah. It does. It's a lot better than what I was preparing myself for mentally. So that's good. I mean, and of course I am I am aware and cognizant that it also depends on how you react. Your health. There's a million things that could happen, but just in general, just to have an idea and say, well, okay, let me keep my standpoint from a more realistic point of view.
I think a healthy way to approach it is to understand you're going in for 1,000 grafts, and when you come out, it'll be somewhere around there. It'll be give or take. Give or take a few grafts. So
exactly.
I hope that answers your question.
That's what I tell my clients in the taxes. It's like, your refund might be $1,000. It could be $980, but it's good enough.
Give or take in the ballpark. In the ballpark.
Right.
And be happy with what you get.
Most definitely. Well, Joe, I thank you for your time. Hopefully, someone else calls you, and I don't have the time over here.
Awesome. But thanks for your call, buddy.
Thank you for what you're doing, and I've been enjoying all this main event, especially with the doctors. I think that's for us. I mean, personally, I think the benefit of having someone like the doctors, give their opinions and how it varies from one to the other, and giving some of those details that we all, I think, are curious about it. And, we always hear something new. I've enjoyed all of them. And even some of the doctors that I would never think about considering, they said something. I'm like, okay, maybe I should put them back on the list.
Yeah. Well, I think that's one reason why I'm having them on, because I think that, when you read about someone online, or you see them in a video where they're presenting a case, it's much different than having them sit down and talk to you, albeit through video and on, through a phone call. It's much different, and you are able to get a better sense of who they are. You're able to get a better sense of your own situation because of questions and answers that are going on during the call, during the interview. So it's not even an interview. It's like I'm talking to them and I'm asking questions, but also get into discussions with them. But it's really for you guys, because I think it's valuable. Like how valuable is it to have world-class doctors available for you to call in and speak to at no charge, and ask questions that you otherwise might not be able to ask them unless you actually went to their clinic to speak to them face to face. I think I hope it's super valuable. I think it is. And it's an environment that I think is much more relaxed than if you were to have a consultation. So it's kind of a peek into their world, and you get a sense of what they're like. And so, yeah, I'm glad you like it and find it valuable. Thank you very much.
No, definitely. I don't think you can put a price tag on that, to be honest.
I'm working on that.
Well, I can help you with that, and
I know you can.
But
all right.
But no, it's the personalized approach and getting to know that. I think that's where it's at. So, but well, thank you again, and look forward to the rest of the shows.
All right. Thanks a lot, Gypsy. Be sure to like the video.
Thank you.
Appreciate your support. Bye-bye.
Always.
Cheers. Right. Toll free 1-833-563-4247. It is toll free North America. Give me a call. You can also call worldwide using the calling app of your choice. Again, that is 833-563-4247. We're currently at 4:33 Pacific time, 7:33 Eastern, and what was that? I forgot what that would be in FSK. What time is it in London? Subtract an hour. That's Greenwich Mean Time. All right, so, got a call. Nice. Now we're rolling. Hey, you're on the main event. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Hey, my name is Michael, and I'm from Maryland.
Hello, Michael from Maryland. How are you tonight?
Pretty good. How
awesome.
are you?
Pretty good. Can't complain. Thanks for calling. What can I help you with? What you got going on?
Yeah, first, I'm a huge fan of the work that you do. I think it's very helpful to people. And I've I got a transplant, and part of the research that I did was really looking at your videos and learning about all the nuances. So I just want to say that the information you provide is extremely helpful.
Now, let me ask, before you continue, I want to ask you a question, and thank you for that. I really appreciate that. Going through my videos, and can I assume that you're talking about the hair transplant class series?
Yes.
Okay. So going through those videos, did it make you think twice about having a hair transplant?
Yes.
And when you went through with the hair transplant, did you have the understanding or think that you had the understanding that it might not work out the way that you wanted it to?
Yeah, for sure. I think that was pretty clear that, you have to set your expectations. Now, I did have a good result. So
good. Who'd you go to?
Yeah. So I went to a prominent surgeon in North Carolina.
Mm-hmm. Would he be in the Charlotte region?
Yeah. Yes.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Right on.
So he did a great job, and you could tell he had, has been doing it for years. Now, I had a bit of a special case in the sense that the surgery was great, the post-care was great, but I had seborrheic dermatitis, if you're familiar.
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of affected my recovery. So
interesting.
Yeah, but the result itself was really aided by getting on oral minoxidil.
Okay.
So, and for some reason, the oral minoxidil helped with the seborrheic dermatitis. It seemed to almost, when I got on the oral minoxidil, it seemed to have dissipated the seborrheic dermatitis. And anyways, what I really was looking for guidance on is I'm thinking about kind of going in for, a tune-up, and concerned about the seborrheic dermatitis again, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
So that was just really my concern. But I know the surgeon's really great, and it was a good overall experience with them. So
well, and he happens to be a world-class dermatologist as well when it comes to hair loss. That's his initial background. So he would definitely be the person to ask about that. But my opinion, just in general in a situation like yours, is to ask you, is a tune-up actually necessary? We're going back to class number 1 in the hair transplant class series. Is it necessary? Is this hair greed, or are you losing more hair, native hair, or even transplanted hair, to where you need to fill in what you've lost?
Yeah, so it's a little bit of both. I think it's a little greed, but there is a little bit of thinning in the crown. I got the frontal done with 1,800 grafts, but it was a very conservative placement. So, I'd like to be able to have a, less receded look, if that makes sense, in the front.
Yes,
and then
of course.
Just fill in the crown. But again, yeah, it's, you raise a good point, which is it absolutely necessary? No. But, I'd like to be able to do it if possible.
I think something to consider would be non-surgical treatments.
Okay.
You're on oral minoxidil. What about finasteride?
Yes, I am. Yep.
You are taking finasteride. You're on oral minoxidil. Okay. How long have you been on both?
I got on finasteride right after the surgery. No side effects whatsoever. And the oral I took topical minoxidil up until the surgery, and then got on oral minoxidil, switched post-surgery.
Okay, so the oral minoxidil helped your seborrheic dermatitis, but did it help your hair?
Yes, it did.
Okay.
Big time. Yeah.
Okay, but your crown has continued to thin while on while on oral minoxidil and finasteride.
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
But the surgery was now 3 years ago, so there's been some time between the surgery. Yeah.
Are you taking generic or name brand Proscar or Propecia?
I'm taking Kiva, which is one of the
generic.
Dr. Cooley's preferred. Yeah. So.
It's supposed to be one of the good generics. Just based on anecdotal feedback from people I know. Are you taking 1 milligram a day?
No. So I take I cut it into 4 quarters, and I take it Monday, Wednesday, Friday.
Okay, that's one of the classic prescription frequencies. I would talk to your doctor about upping the dosage. I would talk to your doctor about other non-surgical treatments, such as I know for a fact that your doctor is into exosomes. I talked to him about that just to see if he thinks you might be a good responder. He'll be honest with you about it, because and I say this because I think that in your situation specifically, you went into a surgery having seborrheic dermatitis, which can affect the outcome of a surgery. Because when you look at the cause or what's going on with seborrheic dermatitis, your skin is accelerating the shedding process, and that in and of itself, causes flakes and sometimes really large flakes, and you want the grafts to recover and thrive in the optimal environment, and that is not the optimal environment. There's inflammation going on. All kinds of negative things going on. So try to get under control. Are you doing anything specifically for your dermatitis other than oral minoxidil?
So I do Nizoral shampoo 3 times a week.
Okay.
So Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Yeah.
Is that got it under control, or you still have flare-ups?
I will have flare-ups during really stressful times. You know? So there are times where it's like lack of sleep or unhealthy diet. It will be more prominent then. Okay.
I would recommend talk to your doctor about this, but try to find a coal-based shampoo instead of or in addition to your Nizoral. There's one out there. I can't remember the original. I had a bad situation similar to yours about 15 years ago, and what was the name of that? It was a shampoo that I got at my local pharmacy, and it was fantastic. And then they stopped making it. I got to look it up because I've talked about it before, and people have asked me about it. I can't for the life remember the name of it, but I got really upset because they stopped making it. And then the pharmacist called me a few years later, and he said, "Joe, I know you've been looking for a replacement. I think I found it for you. Come and get it." It's called Tardan.
Okay.
Tardan. It's a coal-based shampoo, and it literally smells exactly like the one that I used to use, which I can't remember the name of it, and it worked fine. Tardan, Tardan. And
thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Try that. Talk to your doctor about it first, but I found it to be almost a miracle for my own. I've not used it. I've got another bottle of it recently just in case. I was thinking about it because the last time I talked about it, I think it's good to have around just in case they go out of business. I want to at least have some on hand. But yeah, I think it would be a good idea for you to make sure that you've got your dermatitis under control first before you even consider another surgery, and then consider treatments that are non-surgical. Maybe talk to the doctor about upping your intake frequency of finasteride. Everything non-surgical that you can before you pull the trigger on getting cut again. And it may be perfectly fine. Like, he's a fantastic doctor, obviously. He's cautious. He doesn't take risks. And I think that is the best path for you, because once you try everything else, you'll know if it works or not. And you may find the magic formula to where, you know what, I don't want to do a surgery anymore because this is working just fine. I've got some thickening going on, and I'm happy. Or you might even start considering topical applications like Heratin or Dermatch or something like that to kind of fill in those areas for when you're going out on the town, or if you got a date, or if you would take your wife out or something, to where it's immediate, it's fuller, it looks natural, and it washes out. You don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, for sure. No, I mean, I think that's solid advice, and there's clearly risks with going under the knife, so I want to definitely weigh all those things that you talked about.
Mm-hmm.
I actually did do exosomes when I had the 1800 grafts done.
Oh, okay.
And I didn't actually see any more benefit from exosomes than I saw from PRP that I did in the past.
Okay.
So maybe I'm just not a responder to it, but
could be. Yeah, no, that's good to know.
Yeah.
So check that one off your list of things to do. Talk to him about the other things that we discussed or that I threw at you, and call me back. Let me know what you decide, and what direction you take. I'd like to know.
All right, I will do. Thank you so much. I really appreciate everything you do.
Yeah, thank you for calling. I appreciate the support. Take care.
Take care. Bye.
Bye-bye. Toll free, 1-833-563-4247. We're toll free in North America, and you can call worldwide with a calling app of your choice. That was a great call. I appreciate that because of what I was talking about before with the question about what I would talk about during a TED Talk. And that right there proves that my approach works. This is one of the things I don't like about the hair transplant industry, and this is why I came up with the approach that I have towards marketing. Clinics that have the lack of foresight for the long game, they will resort to tactics to get your attention, waving the shiny ball around to get your attention. I saw a video, an Instagram reel by a national chain where they thought it was a good idea. Their marketing people thought it was a good idea to introduce a new clinic that they're opening up somewhere in the Midwest by showing the staff members and the doctor, and the doctor, dancing in the clinic as if it was a nightclub. And I just to be fair, playing devil's advocate here, they're showing that they're a tight, cohesive group that get along really well with each other. That was not the way to do it. It was an embarrassment for the industry. especially coming from this, not especially coming from this company, but I was disappointed it came from this company because I had been watching this company change their ways over the years for the better with their business decisions, hiring of specialists, and breaking away from the mold of breaking away from the perception that they had built up around themselves over the past 50 years. And it's a prime example of what not to do, where it's playing the short game. It's very short-sighted. Most marketing is very short-sighted. But the hair transplant industry is, and this is what's interesting to me. The hair transplant industry is not a short-term field, or the product of hair transplant surgery is not a short-term purchase relating this to regular marketing. It is a long-term purchase because it is something that, it's, for lack of a better, it is a lifelong purchase where whatever you get on your head is with you for the rest of your life, more or less. So my approach to this is to not grab everyone that you can through marketing to bring them in as fast as you can. Play the long game. Play it smart. Show the work. If you do that right, that is what sets you apart. Put obstacles in front of your patients to make them learn about why you're different, to make them learn about the realities of hair transplant surgery. And that caller from Maryland I didn't need that, but it was interesting for me to hear him say that on the show so that you guys can understand. So that doctors that are watching this can maybe get a taste of what I'm talking about. And for you, my regular subscribers, to understand that that's how it should be done. And it's those kinds of clinics I think that you should consider if I work with them or not. There are some good clinics out there that I don't work with that do understand this. I might have guided them in their journey. There are there's one doctor in particular that is super popular. He wouldn't even have a clinic if it wasn't for me, because I gave him the right advice years ago. But anyway, I digress. I was on a little rant there. Give me a call, toll free, 1-833-563-4247. We're getting close to 5 o'clock, people. 10 more minutes, and I am out of here. I do appreciate the phone calls that you've all given me today on this lovely Monday. It is a lovely Monday. I have to say, it is beckoning me to come out and play this weather that we've got, take my dog out for a lovely walk. But I got too much work to do. Let's see. Anything in the chat room? It's always interesting to hear a FUBAR call. I agree. We've not had one yet today. Broaderbun 60, I wouldn't take a free FUE even if I needed one. Smart. Spartacus Ulysses, every graft is sacred. Every graft is great. If a graft is wasted, God gets quite irate. Well said. Let's see. Any questions? I don't see any questions. Do juvenile hairlines really look bad on older men, or is it only if the balding continues behind and there's not enough donor left? Yes and yes. Juvenile hairlines really do look bad on older men if they're... That part of the question, that part of the answer is yes, because most of the time when you see a juvenile hairline on like a really low hairline, it's usually done wrong. So it looks bad on younger people and older people. A younger hairline does look bad in most cases because this represents where there are exceptions. Juvenile hairlines are fine on older men if the patient was diagnosed properly, if the patient was assessed properly when the work was done when they were younger. In other words, family history. Are they on medication? which side of the family lost hair most? What side of the family do they resemble the most physically? That's one of my personal approaches I've taken to with questioning patients, because I do see a correlation with that. My own family situation is the example I pull from. So there are situations where it makes perfect sense. Sure, do a low hairline, not kind of juvenile. Like you want to have some recession built in. You don't want it to be too crazy. Some of the doctors I work with have excellent examples where they've done this, and long-term results look fine because they're on medication, because they didn't seem to have what appeared to be a genetic propensity, predisposition for additional hair loss or aggressive hair loss. They might get a second surgery or third surgery, but they're not going to. It's not expected that there'll be a 7 or even a 6 or even a 5, and so it makes sense in some cases. But the majority of low hairlines that I've seen placed on younger patients will look absolutely terrible on older men, because they look absolutely terrible now on the younger patient. I'm not so much of a what can I say? I'm not so picky about that anymore if it's done properly and the patient was assessed properly and it's in good hands. So hope that answers your question. Okay. Got a call. Nice. Hey, you're on the main event. What is your name and where are you calling from?
Hello, Joe. This is Norwood Shaman.
Norwood Shaman. How you doing, my friend? How are you today?
I'm all good. How about you?
Doing pretty good. I would say I can't complain. I could, but I won't. I'll just say I'm doing good.
Okay, great, brother. I'm sorry I just joined. I didn't have time to catch up with what you have been talking about. But
Not a problem.
I listened a little bit about marketing, but I will rewatch the stream again. But, I have a question regarding some people getting denied when they send their donor pictures and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I can take myself, for example. I have been denied by a few,
Mm-hmm.
and I have been accepted by some others.
Mm-hmm.
And those that have accepted me has exceptionally high success rates when it comes to higher Norwood, such
Mm-hmm.
as myself,
Mm-hmm.
6/7. So my question is, why does other clinics, tell me to not get a hair transplant? Is it because they doubt their own skills? Because I hear that, sometimes people say that those are the ethical doctors, and they tell you not to do it because, they it's ethical, But those other clinics that has high success rate accept me gladly. So what is your answer to this?
Fantastic question. So there are clinics that, I don't know of a single doctor that is not confident in his or her own abilities. They're all arguably too confident in their abilities. But I understand what you're saying. You'll usually, you being anyone, generally speaking, you'll usually get turned down for surgery if the doctor, him or herself, simply does not think that they can give you what you're asking for. They're not thinking about colleagues. They're not thinking about what may be possible in the hands of someone else. Therefore, they aren't good enough. Their thinking is just not possible without serious ramifications, aesthetic downsides, scarring, depletion, you name it. So they're not thinking that far out as far as what other people might suggest based on their own experience. It's strictly in their own universe of possibilities. They don't think that you're a candidate based on their clinic culture does not allow them to think that you're a candidate, if that makes sense. And what that means is, you just don't fit their model of what makes a good patient. It has nothing to do with what they think other doctors can do, because they don't think about that. Occasionally, you'll get a referral, like say if someone is a repair patient and has a very specific type of repair that they need, doctors will refer to each other saying, look, Dr. X is actually really experienced with this type of deal. I'd be happy to take you on, but I don't have that kind of experience. Go see Dr. Y. They do a lot of these. I don't have as much experience. That's where you'll see that. When it comes to a virgin scalp or someone that just is looking for a second or third surgery, they'll be turned down because they genuinely think that they're not a good candidate based on their own experience. So when you go to another clinic, and assuming they operate at a high level, they have consistent results of cases that you can identify with, then they're accepting you because they honestly believe that they can give you a good result. It may or may not be what you're visualizing, what you're seeing in your own mind, your own mind's eye, but they feel they can deliver a good result for you based on what they do, and if what you're seeing in their repertoire and their portfolio reinforces that, then there's probably something to it.
Because I thought they did if a patient goes to a clinic that usually denies people with lower than average donors, and but instead they take us on this case, and then they make a they give a bad result to the patient, and then the patient goes and complains about the result, and it's because of bad marketing, so to speak. That's why I thought these clinics denied them. But okay, I understand. It's because of it doesn't fit their model. So I want to speak about another.
Well,
subject.
hang on. It doesn't. It's not necessarily doesn't fit their model. They just don't think it's possible. Those are two different things. The way I look at it, like fitting our model, it's like, well, we just don't like to try to do this because we feel it's not the right approach. No, they just don't think it's possible.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I bet 99% would accept me if I showed my back. It has a Persian carpet. So, but anyways, my other question is regarding another subject in terms of hair loss.
Mm-hmm.
Topic hair fibers.
Mm-hmm.
It may be unbelievable, but I am actually using it, and I'm an Norwood 6/7.
Mm-hmm.
And the other day, I had intercourse with a woman. And, this is a very common problem, I think, that many people with hair fibers have when they have intercourse. And it is that, sometimes you butt your heads against each other or something like
Mm-hmm.
that, and you panic because, it might wear off, and you're afraid that you will notice that you're a Norwood 6/7,
Mm-hmm.
So what is, this happened to me actually at that point, at that time, and when I looked at her face, she looked like she has been working in the chimney for 3 hours. It was full of hair fibers, and I was hysterically laughing because, I was also panicking because I didn't know what to do. So I actually shoved her face in the pillow and tried to rub it off, and then we went on with the
and she liked that, and she thought, "Ooh, okay, we're getting rough." All right.
Of course. So my question is, do you have any tips on how to, not make it to wear off, to make it stay on? Do you have any tips of any products or something?
That is a great question. I full disclosure, I'm not an expert on concealers. I've used them less than a handful of times, and some of the times I did use them were for making videos about concealers. Maybe do you try to hold it in with spray? Like once you get your topic in there, do you hold it in with hairspray?
No, I don't use anything else.
Well, there you go.
Nothing.
Hairspray.
Okay. But isn't hairspray, very bad for the follicles, those few that I have left?
No.
Oh.
No.
Okay, I thought that they were clogging the pores.
No. Wash your hair. Clean yourself, and you're fine. I've been using hairspray because my hair has always been like very flyaway, and I've been using hairspray since I was a teenager. And yeah, no, there's no issues whatsoever. Well, I can't really say that because I've lost all my hair, so maybe it's because of hairspray, but no, no, it's fine. No, you gotta lock it in somehow, and some sort of hairspray would probably be best. I would suggest like a strong hold hairspray. You look at the bottle, and they'll have usually like 4 or 5 dots on the side that are empty, and then the strength indicator is how many dots are filled. So if it's got 5 dots and there's 3 filled, then it's medium strength. If it's got 4 dots filled out of 5, it's pretty strong, and then 5 dots is like maximum strength. And yeah, and I'd try that. Like that would help to keep it in place. Maybe also try, instead of Topic, try Dermatch, because that goes on the scalp, not on the hair, and that might be better.
Yeah, I have tried that a long time ago, but when I had more hair. But as a Norwood 6/7, it looks like paint, I think, on me.
Fair enough. I was thinking that might be the case, but I don't know exactly how much hair you have. Some guys are Norwood 6s and they have enough base with finer miniaturized hairs where they can use Dermatch instead of Topic. But whatever works for you. If you're using something that you drop in like a powder like Topic or Hairton, then yeah, use a hairspray. That'll hold it in place. Should.
Yeah. Okay, I will try it, and let's see how it goes.
And FSK in the chat room says also black pillow covers work wonders.
Oh wow, that's a very good tip. Very good tip. Actually.
I agree. Well said by FSK.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, he's the GOAT. MVP.
All right, my friend.
Thank you a lot, Joe. Let's talk another time.
All right, thanks for calling. I appreciate it. Yeah, have a good one. Bye bye. All right, that's it for today's episode of the main event. I'd like to thank everyone for calling in, that called in. I'd like to thank you all in the chat room as well, and for you that are watching the replay and everyone's been listening. This has been the main event here on the Hair Transplant channel. Stay tuned. Not stay tuned, but be sure to check us out on Thursday. Check us out every day, but Thursday I'm going to have Dr. Bevan Boy-Rule from the Sinclair Clinic, Sinclair Dermatology out of Australia. This is the source for all the oral minoxidil talk that you've been hearing. Everything started with these guys, and Dr. Bevan Boy-Rule is certainly a wealth of information about oral minoxidil and other hair loss treatments that are available and coming down the pike. So I highly encourage you to check out that episode. Of course, I'm going to be here tomorrow and Wednesday as well, answering your questions, your phone calls. Phone calls, people. That's what this is. It's a call-in show. And I might have a guest one of the next 2 days. We'll see. It's always a possibility. We'll see. And of course, any doctors that are watching this, and I know there's several of you, feel free to call. You're always welcome to call. Doesn't matter if you're on camera or not. Call the number and be glad to talk to you. Until tomorrow, everyone, thanks for watching. I'm out of here. See you later.